and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and today I'm going to be sharing with you what I believe to be the perfect Gameweek 29 team. So whether you're on a free hit or just looking to bring in those double Gameweek players that could be really, really effective and get you those big scores, I think there's going to be a few big scores this week. If you're on a bench boost, whatever, there's going to be something in this video for you. So if you do enjoy it, please do leave a like, really does help out the channel, and do subscribe if you're new around here. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, so unlimited transfers for this team. We're just going to go pure fantasy in a fantasy game. I know, crazy, right? Team value is 96.1 million. So actually, it's difficult to spend all your money and get the best players for this game week. You're going to see why very, very shortly. But let's start off in goal with David De Gea, who I do believe is going to be the best goalkeeper to go for in this double game week. Newcastle away, who are struggling for goals a little bit at the moment. They're not scoring like crazy. Brentford at home here as well. Pretty good fixture at home. I know Brentford have been pretty good in general, but there is a small chance that Tony, if he gets a yellow card in the first game, doesn't even have a fixture in the second game. So that's going to give a real advantage to those Man United defenders. And I do feel like in general, United are a decent defence, and Brentford at home is just a fairly good fixture anyway. They're certainly not a team that scores crazy amount of goals. It's just that Tony scores all of the goals that they do score. So yeah, in general, De Gea is going to be making some saves as well. He's a good shot stopper. He does get those save points. And you never know, if there's a couple of low score lines, and we are expecting a low score line against Newcastle in particular, maybe there could be bonus points as well. You never know. Moving on into defence, we've got Kieran Trippier, and yes, the Newcastle defence has been a little bit disappointing recently, which is why we're not actually going to go too heavy on the Newcastle defenders in this particular best team. So we have got Trippier, however, because he is still providing an insane amount of attacking threat. He's still an extraordinarily creative player, which is really, really decent. That Manchester United home game isn't ideal, but we have got West Ham away, a team that, again, another team that struggles to score goals a little bit. So maybe there's going to be an opportunity for a clean sheet there. And what I should say is that even though Newcastle can't seem to keep a clean sheet at the moment, they are still putting up some good defensive numbers. So it does kind of imply to us that clean sheets are on their way at some point or another. We probably would have seen a clean sheet for Newcastle if it wasn't for that individual mistake from Botman there that did cause Newcastle to concede a goal in Gameweek 28. But I think going forward, things in general are looking positive. And if we're trying to predict points rather than just looking at past points, I think Trippier has definitely got something to say in this double game week with a combination of his attacking threat and Newcastle's decent defensive numbers despite the lack of clean sheets. But we're going to move on to the next defender anyway, and we have got Ben Chilwell here playing really, really advanced. Those of you guys who owned him for Game Week 28 probably felt you were a little bit frustrated by that game a little bit, because Chilwell was really looking very good. He was very creative. He was taking shots on as well, and it did look in general like Chelsea were fairly strong defensively there despite conceding 2 goals. So a little bit of a shame there that Chilwell didn't get the points in 28, but I don't think that means we need to write him off at all. There's 2 home games for Chelsea, which is going to be a real advantage for them in the double game week. First game against Aston Villa, second game against Liverpool. And although these aren't amazing fixtures for defenders in general, the fact that they're at home and the fact that Chilwell is still providing a lot of attacking threat, and the fact that Chelsea are just a strong defence in general, we've already seen them keep a clean sheet against Liverpool a month or so ago. I remember that game. It was really, really dull, but a clean sheet nonetheless. And Chilwell playing in this left wing back position, he is super advanced at the moment, far more advanced than Reece James on the other side. He has got Cucurella in behind him to kind of protect him a little bit during most games there. So Chilwell in general, I think he's a really, really good pick for the double game week, and certainly would make my best team. And the third defender may surprise you a little bit, maybe it won't, not sure, but we have got Pervis Estupiñán. So I do feel like we need to go for some kind of Brighton defender here. Whether it's a Brighton goalkeeper, a little bit risky. Steele should be safe, but we're not 100% sure how long Steele is going to last, so I wasn't fully confident in him. In terms of Lewis Dunk, nice and nailed on. That's pretty good. Estupiñán, I do think he is going to be ready back from international break. Absolutely fine. Obviously, we'll find out a little bit nearer the time, but I think he's going to be absolutely fine to start both games. Brighton have to really start their best players every game, really, and Pervis Estupiñán has just been so crucial, so important to the way they're playing at the moment, with his driving runs forward, being very creative, taking the odd shot on it as well. He really has been phenomenal, and those of you guys who have been watching Brighton recently will probably agree with me that Pervis Estupiñán has just been just a great player that we really want to own in FPL. And although he hasn't always got the FPL returns, he always looks dangerous. He's playing in a strong defence in Brighton as well. Brighton have been doing very well defensively. Their defensive numbers are really good at the moment in a lot of games as well. And And these two fixtures look pretty good as well. Brentford at home, like I say, I think this is a fairly decent defensive fixture. I don't think it's perfect, but, you know, you can do a lot worse than a fixture like that. And Bournemouth away is always a very nice fixture as well for attacking returns and for getting those clean sheets as well. Let's move on into midfield. We've got Fernandes first of all. So Bruno Fernandes, Newcastle away, Brentford at home. It's an okay pair of fixtures for an attacker. I'm not going to say it's an amazing pair of fixtures. It's really not, but we at least have a good team here. Not too many of the top teams have double game weeks in this double game week. You know, likes of Arsenal and Man City don't have doubles. Liverpool do have a double. They're a strong team in attack, but they do have a really tough run against both Chelsea and Man City. So that's going to be difficult for Liverpool. But Manchester United, on the other hand, I think out of the top teams, out of the big teams, no Spurs as well, by the way, out of the big teams, Man United are really the only team who have a double game week. So yeah, we're going to have to go in for some of those players, I think, and Bruno Fernandes would probably be one of my first picks. Newcastle away, can he get something there? It's possible. We've seen Manchester United beat Newcastle 2-0 in the League Cup final already, and I just feel like Fernandes, the fact that he's on penalties, I do like the look of a penalty taker in a double game week. I do think it's really beneficial because you give yourself double the chances of getting a penalty. Penalties are always a little bit of luck, really, but you have twice the chance. Your luck is doubled in a double game week, which is really nice. He also plays 90 minutes every game. He's super nailed on, so we don't need to worry about rotation or anything like that. And he's been doing very well in the in other competitions as well. He scored 2 goals the other day. All very good. So, in general, Fernandes, I think he's a very good player to own and also potentially a captain option for you as well. I'd even want to take him forward because Manchester United are going to get more double game weeks in the future as well. So, Bruno Fernandes should really be one of the top transfer targets for anyone, no matter who you are. And next up, Maddison. I know a lot of people have been talking about him recently. He's looking pretty good at the moment. 2 pretty good fixtures. We do kind of like the look of the Leicester fixtures. The difficulty for Leicester is they're not playing amazingly, and it's kind of difficult to pick out the right Leicester player. But Maddison does seem to be a player who is coming into a bit of form at the moment, and we know what Maddison can do when he's in form. Crystal Palace away, Aston Villa at home. These are 2 opportunities to score some goals. So hopefully Maddison is going to be able to add to his creativity because he's been very creative recently. Not necessarily taking the best shots from the best positions, but creating for his teammates has been very, very useful indeed. So, like Maddison for this game week, I think this could be a really good one for him. I expect he'll be one of the highest scoring players of the game week. So, another player you could really consider as a transfer target if you're looking for a new midfielder. Rashford next, and assuming Rashford is fit and available for game week 29, I think he will. I know he is pulled out of the England squad, but I don't think it's anything too serious. It's just a knock, whatever that means during the international break. So I'm not too worried really about Rashford, and I have to say if he is available, he's probably going to be the #1 captain shout as well because he is still in some very good form at the moment. We are really liking the look of Rashford. He's been having an amazing season, particularly since Christmas. So in general, Rashford is just an absolute no-brainer. He's one of the few players who have been a consistent, mad, must-own, essential player in this half of the season, I guess, who has a double game week, so it makes a lot of sense to put him in. Next up, McAllister. So yes, Alexis McAllister is probably going to be possibly one of my favourite Brighton players to own. It's really difficult to pick those Brighton midfielders, and I think in general picking 2 Brighton midfielders, no matter who they are, I think is absolutely fine, but I would probably make McAllister one of them. So McAllister on penalties, playing an attacking midfield now and playing very well in that position as well, which is something I think a few people were worried about before. Was he actually going to play well in attacking midfield? And the answer seems to be yes. I'm not too worried about him dropping deeper. I know he drops deeper in those cup games maybe, but that's just because of rotation and where other players are playing. And in general, if Pascal Gross is playing, if Caicedo is playing, then McAllister is going to be playing in the attacking midfield. If those 2 other guys are playing in midfield behind him, McAllister will play in that advanced position. And when he's playing in that position, he's just taking so many shots at the moment. He seems to be on the end of everything. He's actually running ahead of the striker, whether that's Welbeck or Ferguson. He's actually often further forward than that striker, which is really, really good to see. So yeah, creative on penalties, on set pieces, taking so many shots, particularly in the box. There is nothing to dislike about McAllister. Even his price is good. So a really, really good player to own. Finally, it's Solly March in midfield. So yeah, I am still on the March hype train. Like I say, I think if you want to go for Calderon Mitoma, that's absolutely fine as well. But for me personally, these 2 midfielders, I've made no secret about this. These 2 are my favourite. It's very close, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying any player's bad, but these two are my favourite guys. So yeah, March is going to go in here. Unlucky not to get the goal the other week. I'm still not over it. I'm not going to lie. I'm still not over it. I don't think I ever will be. I'll take this one to the grave. But still, it did show that, you know, he's on the end of a lot of things. He's very advanced. He's taking shots. His underlying numbers are better than any other Brighton midfielder right now, which is very good. We've seen him with some mega hauls since the World Cup, haven't we? He's got several 10-pointer plus scores. So hopefully he can get another one. You know, and he's got twice the chance of getting that because he's got 2 games in one game week, including that game against Bournemouth, which I just feel like Brighton, the form that they are in right now, even Brentford is going to be a fairly good fixture for them because they're just in such good form. That Bournemouth game as well, not expecting any rotation from Brighton just because every game is essential. They genuinely could get a Champions League spot. I know that sounds crazy to say right now, but they're not too far off it, and they're showing the form that they can do it. It really is an incredible journey for Brighton this season. So yeah, congratulations to them, but for FPL managers like us, we really do need to be going absolutely crazy, absolutely ham on those Brighton players because they really probably are going to be the highest scoring players this game week. In general, yes, we've got Manchester United there. I think in general, we're going to see the most points coming out of the Brighton factory this game week. So yeah, get those Brighton players, triple up. Make sure you're tripled up for this game week. It really is going to be absolutely essential that you do that. Moving up front, we've got Kai Havertz. So again, 2 home fixtures. And what I have to say about these fixtures as an attacker is that they're quite nice, actually, aren't they? So Aston Villa at home, they're a team that have been conceding quite a few chances to some of the stronger teams recently. They've been doing fairly well defensively, not too bad defensively against some of the weaker teams, but when they face up against a tough opponent, sometimes they do let themselves get overrun a little bit and concede a lot of chances, and it's difficult to say which Chelsea player is going to be on the end of these chances. It is so difficult to pick a Chelsea attacker right now because their attacking returns are so spread out, which is not something we typically like for FPL, but what Havertz has as an advantage is that he is that central striker, he is the focal point of the team, and he's on penalties as well, which is a very, very, again, a key thing that we need to look out for. Get those penalty takers for the double game week is really going to be quite important. So yes, Havertz, even though I'm not 100% convinced by this pick long term, I have to admit, he is a player that I quite like the look of for Game Week 29, and I'm going to be quite jealous of those of you guys who do own Kai Havertz, but not quite as jealous as I would be of Watkins owners. I am a Watkins owner, and I think he is a player who has been on top form recently. Really, really good form. Unlucky not to get more in Game Week 28, but that's a conversation for another day. On penalties as well, which is very nice. Again, double the chances for those penalties. It's amazing. We've got this Leicester away fixture, which I think is really nice. I don't love this Chelsea away fixture, but we do know that even though Chelsea are a strong defence, they are prone to the odd mistake, something going wrong here and there, even though they have been in some good form. So, look, Watkins in the form that he is, if anyone's going to do it against Chelsea, it's going to be him. If not, we'll take the 2 points and see what we can get from that Leicester game. But I do, in general, think that Watkins is still a very, very good pick. If we're looking for double game week forwards in great form, then Watkins definitely fits that category, and that's kind of what we're looking for. And quite often is the case, even in those difficult fixtures, form over fixture usually pays off. You know, a player in good form will score against anyone, really. So Watkins is still a very good shout, despite that difficult fixture against Chelsea. I still would be making sure I have him as part of my Game Week 29 plans. Now, we've got the first 11. We are going to bring it to the bench. We've got a few other options that you could maybe consider as well. I think other players that should be pretty high priority that you can maybe think about. So bringing up the bench, guys, we've got Martinez at Aston Villa. So Leicester away, Chelsea away, 2 teams that aren't scoring crazy amounts at the moment. And although Aston Villa, like I say, they are conceding goals against some of the stronger teams, but when they're playing an easier game, they do seem to be able to keep things a little bit tidier. And the great thing about Martinez is that he is a great goalkeeper and he is exceeding the expected goals conceded. So he is making those saves in those difficult situations. So maybe you're going to get some save points from him. You never know. In general, I just think Martinez is a good keeper playing for Aston Villa. So I think if we're going to go for a goalkeeper for the double game week, maybe Martinez is a shout. I think he's a pretty decent shout, to be fair. There aren't too many other goalkeepers that I would love to have. You know, you could go for Pope, maybe. Some people will say go for Ward or Iverson, but I just would not touch that Leicester situation at the moment. Meslier is an outside shout for Leeds, but in general, goalkeepers, it's kind of difficult to pick right now. Kepa, maybe? I guess Kepa is an option, but we can't have Kepa because I've already got a third Chelsea player on the bench, which we'll come to. We've got Tony on the bench here. I think the one thing that puts me off Tony is the fact that if he gets a yellow card against Manchester United, he's going to be suspended for that second game. I think that's just what edges it for Kai Havertz and Watkins. Tony is still a really good pick, though, and I would be really tempted to have him as my perfect Game Week 29 team. I do have him in my team, my normal team anyway, so I will be looking to play Tony. So he's just on the cusp there in terms of looking for that perfect team. The away games against Manchester United and Brighton don't particularly help. They're two strong defences, both away fixtures. I don't love it. I don't absolutely love it, but I still think that Tony, with the ability that he has as an individual, can sort of supersede that in many ways. We've got Reece James here. Don't think he's as good as Chilwell, but I think James is still a reasonably good shout. I still think he could do some damage. So if you really want to go differential or you want to double up on the Chelsea defence, absolutely fine. Reece James is your friend. And I've got here Aguerd as well. Bit of a differential, but what I was looking for really is the team with the best defensive fixtures. And I think West Ham, in terms of a pair of fixtures, I really like West Ham's pair of fixtures. Newcastle at home, Southampton at home. If West Ham can keep things tidy, then these are two really good opportunities for a clean sheet. And then after that, we need to look at the most nailed-on defensive player, I guess. You could go for Emerson, take a bit of a risk on the left back, but I think Aguerd is just the most nailed-on West Ham defender right now. So that's the reason why he's made the cut on this particular best team. So that is the team. We're going to throw a captain's armband on Rashford because I think if he's available, he's just a very obvious captain, very reliable captain to have, even on single game weeks. And we're going to put the vice captain on Solly March because I think it's time for retribution, round 2. And we know his numbers, we know how good he can be, and we know how many points he should have scored the other week. Sorry to keep going on about that, by the way, but look, if we're looking to make decisions going forward, I think the non-goal should count towards that decision making. I think we should consider that as part of what he scored in the past, so we can kind of predict what he's going to score in the future, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to put the vice captain on him. If you really fancy a differential, I even don't mind Solly March as a primary captain, the actual captain of your team. And with that, guys, we have our perfect Game Week 29 team. I really, really like this team. If I could have any, I guess, 15 players in FPL, this would be my team. I would bench boost this and I would get 150 points and I would absolutely love life. So tell me, guys, before you disappear, how many of these players do you already have in your team? I know you're probably not going to have the players like Aguerd, maybe there's some other differentials here that you might not have, Martinez, but from the first 11, maybe Tony, maybe James, how many of these players do you have out of 15? I would love to hear that in the comments, and that will basically kind of, in many ways, let me know how set you are for the double game week. Thanks for watching, guys. If you wouldn't mind dropping a like before you go as well, that would be really appreciated. Do subscribe if you're new around here and you want more content. We've got some interesting content to come over the next couple of days with a little bit of free time due to the international break. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.